be able to travel.
まもなく1番線に渋谷品川方面行きが入ります。
Riêng là mình đi ra Mân Tha nên
lên Mân Tha này lên mất nè.
sao sao mới lên ăn tiếp được đây tao đấy đây ghi khăm này.
Đó là lời khẳng định dường như một chân lý, nhưng có nhà tâm lý đã nói
ताते पुनि उपजय बहुशूला मोह के वशीभूत होकर के आदमी
Australia? Why? To investigate my passion for the ocean that plays such a big role in Australia's everyday life, and to travel from Sydney up north in a van and learn about this peculiar country with an Australian friend called Georgia. Long ago, there was an island surrounded by many miles of deep and dangerous ocean, where nomadic aborigines and abundant wildlife cohabited peacefully. Just as the sun began to set one day, the birds laughed their last cackle of the afternoon. Simultaneously, in Georgian London, a captain was impatiently supervising the loading of a work-worn but sturdy cargo bark that had just been bought by the Navy. James Cook would drop anchor for the first time in Botany Bay and help close the distance between London and the land of the Aborigines forever. That was in 1770, and today Sydney's airport is in Botany Bay. That's also where I first set foot in Australia, just yesterday. What a sensation to arrive in this bay after sailing 20,000 kilometers from Europe. Most of the forefathers of the people I'll meet here would have come that way, by ship. Count on me whenever you need me. But I know that this will be a solitary journey. Follow your urge to cover ground, to move. If you want to live in a camper for a while, seems to me you've come to the perfect place. Take care, Alex. Before hitting the road north, I passed through two places, through Cronulla, a suburb, but first I would go to a kindergarten where Georgia worked, so I could chat with the smallest Aussies I could find. What I wanted to show you was this. Look, these kids have fascinating, almost romantic family histories. Many of the little blighters are the great-great-grandchildren of the first settlers. The fact that modern Australia is based on the work of immigrants fascinates me. What is the name of your country, Taylor? Oh, you okay?
It's maybe in Australia, in a yellow purple one. That means Annandale.
Really?
How big's Australia?
This big.
How big? That big?
This big.
If you want to walk around, how many days?
15 days.
What do you want to do when you grow up? When you're big, what you gonna do?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Instead of showing you the well-known landmarks of central Sydney, I'll show you part of the outlying suburbs, or slurbs, as they're called here. This is where the people live their lives. How? Well, they get up and some go for a swim or surf before getting off to work. There are clubs, loads of them. Footy, Australian rules football, is pretty popular. If it's not a footy club, it might be rugby league or cricket or swimming. Anyway, the idea is that you spend lots of time there, socialising with your mates.
Okay, the lot then? $10.15. Thank you.
Cronulla is a good place to grow up and a good place to stay. Georgia grew up in a place like this.
Never think of Cronulla as, I would wonder why a tourist would come to Cronulla, not because it's not nice, but just because I suppose the area that you kind of grow up in, you never think would be a tourist area.
But it's still a really compact neighbourhood.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I mean, it's families have been there for years and friends have
Oh
been there
yeah,
for
it's
years.
definitely shy, like people know people and, you know, yeah, definitely. People grow up and then end up living in the same area and it's all that sort of stuff.
Won't be enough time to get a good... It's not enough time a month, is it, to get a good grasp
Well, it's a
of what
whirlwind.
like.
But I think what's really good is that you've been staying with us and because your experience of here, even though it's a month, would be so different to a standard person that came for whether it was 1 month or 1 year, just simply because you've stayed with people from here and you've been able to go to places where a standard backpacker wouldn't know about or wouldn't get to know about or wouldn't get to because it's in personal houses and, you know, things like that, and been able to kind of bore you with that's where my nana grew up and that's where my mum, and there was an orchard. But, you know, I suppose those things are good when you're travelling somewhere. They're the sort of things you want that are interesting, but most people wouldn't have that experience here. When you live in Sydney or any big city, you kind of, I know me anyway, I often forget that there's everything else out there of Australia. I think of Australia as Sydney, or as even here, like as just this. And you think everyone's just like you, kind of living that style of life, and it's so untrue. I mean, there's every different style of everyone doing everything, but yeah, maybe you do just have to go to the outback at some point. I don't know. I'd like to. I'm sure it's full of characters and yeah.
But I mean, it's
But
not
everywhere.
the real Australia, is
No,
it?
everywhere's the real Australia, isn't it? And everywhere's not, because it's just, if it's here, then it's part of here, so.
And that was the first I learned about Australia. And while I was thinking about it, we were already driving out of Sydney, in my temporary home, going north to visit George's sister. But first we slept at a place called Seal Rocks.
These guys, we just got to stand up in their face. They went to Melbourne and did exactly